Am I the asshole for telling my drywall guy to stop bugging my babysitter? We are doing some house renovations and so workers are in the house. Today 2 guys were putting up drywall in the living room while our babysitter is playing with our daughter in the family room while I'm working in my downstairs office. I hear the drywall guy asking personal questions to my babysitter until her answers started getting short and her tone changes. I.e., guy, so where do you live? Her, north of here. Guy, yeah, but where? Her, it's kind of a weird spot. That's when I finally walked upstairs and told him, what is this? The census. She's watching my kid. Let her be. I thought I did it in a joking manner, but I guess it came off harsher than I intended. My wife promptly informed me I was an asshole to the guy and the babysitter had it under control. I get that white knighting is a thing and that I may be out of touch with where I should be putting my foot down, so I leave the verdict all of you. Am I the a-hole? Not the asshole, and big blessings to you. Your babysitter probably felt obligated to remain polite while working. You the real MVP.
Not the asshole. This was the exact right thing to do.
Not the asshole. That's creepy. Likely better to have said, please don't interrupt my babysitter, she has her hands full with her work and needs to be fully focused on my child. But, what you said is fine. And it's certainly not appropriate to have the babysitter fend for herself. If she is working in your home, it is your job as ensure other folks also working in your home respect her and don't act creepy. Not the asshole. You hired this guy to work, not spend time chatting up your babysitter. You were not in any way out of line for intervening and giving your babysitter an out for a conversation that was becoming uncomfortable for her. I'm sure the babysitter could have handled it, but that's not the point. It was not her job to manage his behavior, it was yours. And you did.
Not the asshole at all. As a woman, I applaud you doing that. Women can and should speak up when creepy guys are bugging them, but in my experience, sometimes it's just not that easy when you've been raised to be a people pleaser who doesn't hurt others' feelings or say no. Not the asshole. In fact, this is a new suit area for employers covered by employers' liability insurance, an add-on to an employer's general liability policy to cover failure to protect your employees from harassment from other employees, or vendors of the company. Delivery guy harassing a CSR at the front desk. Crazy to think this could be the employer's fault, but there have been cases. So, technically, you could be held liable for his actions and did exactly the right thing, if not also possibly asking him to get off your property.
Not the asshole who the fuck thinks they deserve to know where someone lives.
Not the asshole, you're paying that guy to do a job and bothering the babysitter, ain't it? Not the asshole. As a former 16-year-old girl who was routinely hit on by men older than my father, I can almost guarantee you that this babysitter was extremely uncomfortable and didn't know a safe way to defuse the situation, especially as she was in charge of kids at the time. Young women especially are socially conditioned to brush off men's comments so as to not make a fuss, and in doing so totally normalize predatory behavior. I wish someone like you had been looking out for me when I was her age.
Not the asshole. If this was an entirely social occasion, perhaps I'd think differently, but both people were working. And maybe in a social setting your babysitter would have felt free to be more blunt herself, but felt differently since she was at work. It's important to note too that the guy wasn't just asking those 2 questions you mentioned in your post. If I understand it right, it sounds like he asked her several questions prior to that and she was deflecting up to a point. That said, the only one here who can really judge if you overstepped is the babysitter. I definitely wouldn't bring it up to her directly, but if she happens to say something to your wife about it, go from there in deciding how to handle it. My guess is that she was probably glad you said something.
Not the asshole. This dude was creeping on, I assume, an underage girl. You were right to nip it in the bud.
Not the arsehole. I would appreciate the intervention. It gives her an out with the guy, she can say she doesn't want to get into trouble and she doesn't come across as rude. Also, what you said kind of made me laugh.
Am I the asshole for something normal? My choose friends or partner is mad at me for doing it. Edit. Thank you. Edit. Update post. I did something you told me to and guess what, person's still bad.
Not the asshole. Lol, what is this, the census? Nice.
Not the arsehole. Considering you employ both of them, I think being protective is the way to go. Good job.
You are absolutely the how dare you stop a hard-working man from trying to get some from a babysitter that probably way too young for him. What happened to bros before HOS? Seriously though, definitely not the asshole. Yeah, maybe a bit of a knight in shining armor, and maybe the babysitter had it handled, but she shouldn't have had to handle it in the first place. You stopped an older guy from hitting on your babysitter. And you managed to do it in a pretty hilarious way.
No, your wife is wrong. That guy wasn't gonna back off. Guys calling guys out on this behavior is far more effective than women doing it, sad to say. Honestly, I think it's worth of a complaint to the contractor. This was extra inappropriate to do inside someone's home. How old is your babysitter? What if she was your daughter? This guy was a real creep. NTA.
Not the asshole. The drywall dude was being a creep asking for the exact location of the babysitter's home.
Not the asshole. And good on you for taking note of what was happening and speaking up.
Not the asshole. Your home and you have to protect here. Very correct reaction, well done.
Not the asshole. Your wife's opinion isn't relevant because he wasn't harassing her. If your babysitter didn't appreciate you chiming in, that'd be a different story.
Not the asshole. I would have been more blunt. I'm paying you to fix X, Y, Z, not sit here chat with our babysitter. You can have your breaks in the room you're doing work or in your vehicle, and you can do what you'd like on your break. Bathroom if needed is there. Then keep babysitter away from this guy acting like a creep. With her input on what she's comfortable with. Not the asshole.
Not the asshole. Female general contractor here. Far too many people in this line of work have shady histories and/or criminal pasts. Thank you for standing up for your babysitter. I've been doing this for years and still have to interact with creepy guys who will not back down when told to do so. I've had to step in multiple times and ultimately let people go because they've been unwilling to remain professional and respect boundaries. Your home is yours to protect. Your employees are yours to protect, or police as necessary. I applaud you for your decision.
Info, at face value this seems like a slam dunk, not the asshole to me. But why isn't it for your wife? Is there something else going on?
All potential harassment aside, you're paying him to work, not to socialize. You're paying the babysitter to work, not to socialize. Therefore, they both need to be working. Not the asshole. You're not paying either of them to socialize with each other.
Not the asshole, you made the right call.
Not the asshole. If you are worried about white knighting, try the following. 1. Let her know you support her ability to shut down unwanted advances as harshly as she feels she needs to. As your employee, she may hold back her response because a part of her mind is on her job. 2. Ask her what level of intervention she wants from you in the future. Make sure that she has the ability to amend this as her confidence to handle the situation changes. 3. Ask her if she would prefer to see if the offensive workman can be removed from your home. This may not be practical, but as long as she is okay with it, it should definitely be addressed as problem behavior.
Not the asshole. There are ways you could have done or phrased this better. But in the grand spectrum of ways to handle it, you did better than most other options. Dude was being a massive creep and you solved it.
Not the asshole. It's important to have your babysitter feel safe in your home, and prying questions remove that. It's not white knighting to ensure your home is a safe, peaceful environment for your employee. Not the asshole. Your house, your rules.
Not the asshole. I could kind of see it as white knighting if you had no connection to the two and you felt it was your duty to protect a random woman because you assumed she was incapable, but that isn't the case. You are technically the boss of each of them and you noticed potential harassment and probably inferred rightfully so that the guy's advances were unwarranted and he basically had her trapped playing with the kid, thereby limiting her options to respond and tell him to fuck off if she felt the need to. You were protecting one employee and getting the other to return to their job. You did the right thing and he was being creepy, at the very least trying to force a conversation with her and asking personal questions she obviously didn't want to answer while playing with a kid.
I don't get Reddit's obsession with white knighting. Yeah, women are not damsels in distress, but this asshole was not getting the hint. These were intrusive questions. Guy was weird. Good on you for setting him straight. Not the asshole.
Not the asshole. I would have been very relieved if I were the babysitter.
NTA. Your wife is wrong to make your babysitter deal with that on her own.
For all we know, he was trying to find out her home to stalk her, and as we've seen on a zillion Reddit posts, sweet young things do not always know how to be assertive. I think you handled it in a humorous way. What is this? the census, and frankly, he is there to work, not try to pick up your babysitter. Totally not the asshole, and possibly a white knight, and hey, we could use more of those these days. Not the asshole, I was the babysitter in this situation and would have wished for someone to help me out.
Not the asshole. Yes, white knighting is a thing, but unlike a white knight, you actually read the room and understood the situation without jumping to conclusions.
Not the asshole. They're both your employees technically. Consider it being your own management, HR department. Not the asshole. As a woman, I would have been so uncomfortable in the babysitter's shoes. I agree that Op is the real MVP in this situation. Babysitter was clearly trying to evade while remaining polite. Also, I hate men like drywall man. Not the asshole. Your wife is 100% in the wrong here. Thank you for keeping the babysitter's best interests at heart.
Guys like him are why all of my clients are women. And your wife is the asshole for not stepping in herself.
Not the asshole. You were nicer than I would have been.
Not the asshole.
In New York State, you are legally obligated to put a stop to this kind of behavior as you are your babysitter's employer. You are contractually obligated to create a safe working space, including safety from sexual harassment. The online course my last employer used for their sexual harassment training used exactly this situation as an example of sexual harassment to teach that domestic employers such as yourself can be held liable for failing to intervene. Not the asshole.
Not the asshole at all. Thank you for interrupting that clearly uncomfortable conversation. Your wife is the asshole for being completely obtuse about the situation, especially since it was another woman, and getting on your case about it.
Not the asshole for all of the reasons that have been said. I'm sure your babysitter was super relieved.
Not the asshole. You did exactly the right thing. Good for you for protecting her.
Not the asshole. Not only am I sure your babysitter appreciated it, women are hard-pressed to be the bad guy in these situations, lest a dude get violent, but you are literally paying this person to do a job. Not to pick up women. I could maybe get the white knighting aspect if you just saw this happening to random people and chose to intervene. But because this is your house and you're paying for a service, I think you were right to tell him to knock it off and get back to work.